what we've worked a lot on recently is making the capability for us to work creatively. In other words, work with a sense of like actually coding and building things very fast with a sense of kind of flow. So we've tried to make tools that let us build things in the same way that are kind of the same kind of fluidity that a musician or a painter or anyone else might have to build things where it's actually enjoyable to build. And so it's just about starting to become enjoyable. It's been a painful 2 years, and now what's great is that things we're making now, we can actually see results instantly of what we're doing, and so you can be delighted by actually building something very quickly, which is not normally. It's not normally when you code something, when you're programming, that you get an unexpectedly great result. It's usually the other way around, and so we kind of we've tried to make tools that are kind of fun to use, and they are starting to be fun, so that's a good thing.
So you're actually able to use the tools to create as well?
Yeah, I mean, we've developed Noodle Heaven, which is our kind of product, is a sort of system for authoring and publishing and distributing interactive music. But at the same time, we wanted the master plan is to create tools that are good enough that eventually we can put the tools out there for free for people to build their own things. And our tools are general purpose; they're not just for making interactive music things; they're for coding any type of thing.
So, where do you see this leading to?
Noodle Heaven is kind of growing, and the plan for it is to make it much more of a community-orientated thing. And I've done a few projects over the last years to do with kind of identifying patterns and connections between things. And what we're going to try and do is make Noodle Heaven much more of I think we're going to try and move it towards being a much more social system, and making a thing that identifies communities and tries to automatically kind of put people together and make them and give them spaces to work together in kind of real time jamming things and stuff like that.
Wow. So on the internet, or?
Yeah, on the net. I mean, for us, Noodle Heaven, for me as a game designer and artist, what was interesting about it, why I got into doing interactive music in the first place, was because I feel that music is a perfect model for interaction. It's a beautiful way that people work together and make things together. And so I'm not really a musician myself, but what interests me in terms of why making Noodle Heaven was to try and use music as a way of thinking about how people create things and how people work together and make things. And so the sort of single player experience, as it were, is sort of starting to get there, and now I want to work out ways to make people play together. Because we've done some tests, and it was interesting how terrifyingly awful they were. So, because when non-musicians play together, they're not used to listening to each other, and so they don't play together, they fight. And so it's an interesting, the challenge that we're going to try and do, which I think is going to be very interesting, is to try and put structures in place that kind of encourage people to listen and play with each other rather than compete. And so, yeah, that's where we're going next, I think.